My sister screamed, "You'll sign over your house to me. If you want a place to live, you'll sleep in the garage." So I showed her the deed that proved I actually owned her house too. Welcome back, family. If you haven't already, subscribe and say hi in the comments. We'd love to know where you're watching from. With that, let's continue today's story. I was arranging Mama's medication when my sister Denise's voice split the air like thunder. "You'll sign over your house to me, Emma. You hear me? You'll sign it over or you'll sleep in the garage like the ungrateful wretch you are." I turned from Mama's bedside, my hands still clutching the pill organizer. Denise stood in the doorway, her face twisted with something I'd never seen before, pure entitlement mixed with contempt. Behind her, our brother Clifton shifted uncomfortably, avoiding my eyes. "Denise, what are you talking about?" My voice came out steady, though my heart hammered against my ribs. "Don't play stupid with me." She stepped closer, her designer heels clicking against the hardwood floor. "I'd refinished myself 3 years ago. Mama's will states everything goes to me as the eldest. That includes your little house. The one you think you own." The medication bottles rattled in my shaking hands. I'd bought this house 7 years ago, right after the accident that put me in a wheelchair. Saved every penny from my settlement, worked from home building websites, scraped together the down payment while living in a studio apartment that barely fit my wheelchair. "My house has nothing to do with Mama's will," I said carefully. Denise laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Everything you have came from this family. Time to pay up. Clifton agrees with me. Don't you, Clifton?" Clifton finally met my eyes, and what I saw there broke something inside me. He nodded. The memory hit me like a freight train. I was 16 again, lying in that hospital bed, my legs useless beneath crisp white sheets. Mama sat beside me, her face carved from stone. "The driver's insurance will pay out," she'd said. "That money should go to the family. We all suffered when you got hurt." Even then, even as a broken teenager, I'd known something was wrong with that statement. But I was too hurt, too scared, too dependent to argue. Denise's voice yanked me back to the present. "I've already talked to a lawyer. Since Mama co-signed some of your early bills after the accident, there's a legal claim to your assets. Everything you think is yours? It's actually ours." "That's insane," I whispered. "Is it?" She pulled out her phone, jabbing at the screen. "Mama's getting worse. She needs round-the-clock care. Your house is worth $350,000. My house is worth $400,000. Together, that's enough to get her into the premium facility. But you'd rather she suffer than help, family." The manipulation was breathtaking. I'd been caring for Mama for 2 years, adjusting my work schedule, sleeping in 4-hour chunks, administering medications, managing doctor appointments, doing everything while Denise lived her life 60 miles away. "I've been taking care of Mama," I said. "Barely." Denise's lip curled. "You keep her in this outdated house instead of proper care. You're selfish, Emma. You've always been selfish." Clifton cleared his throat. "Denise has a point. Mama needs professional help." "Then why don't you contribute?" I shot back. His silence was answer enough. I called my lawyer, Robert Boykins, the moment Denise stormed out. My hands trembled as I dialed, my voice breaking as I explained. "Emma, slow down," Robert said calmly. "First, no one can force you to sign over your house. Second, did your mother actually co-sign anything related to your house purchase?" "No. She co-signed some medical bills when I was 17, but I paid those off years ago." "Then they have no claim." "None. This is intimidation, nothing more." But Robert didn't understand. This was family. The people who were supposed to love me were circling like vultures, and suddenly every kind gesture from the past felt contaminated. Had they ever loved me, or had I always been an asset to be liquidated? That night I couldn't sleep. I rolled through the house I'd worked so hard for, touching the walls, remembering every sacrifice. The ramp I'd installed. The widened doorways. The roll-in shower that took 6 months of overtime to afford. This wasn't just a house. It was my independence, my proof that the accident hadn't destroyed me. 3 a.m. my phone buzzed. "Denise, you have 1 week to decide. Sign over the house, or I'll make sure Mama knows what kind of daughter you really are. I'll make sure everyone knows." I stared at the message until the screen went dark. Then I did something I should have done years ago. I started digging through old boxes in my office closet, looking for papers from after the accident. Insurance documents. Settlement papers. Anything that might explain why Denise suddenly felt entitled to everything I'd built. What I found changed everything. The manila envelope was buried under old tax returns and medical records. My hands shook as I pulled out the settlement documents from the accident. 15 years old, yellowed at the edges, but the numbers were clear. $300,000 settlement. Paid out over time for medical care and living expenses until I turned 25. But there was another document underneath. A signature page. Mama's name. And next to it as co-guardian and trustee, Denise Mitchell. My sister had been 24 when I got hurt, fresh out of college, and Mama had made her co-trustee of my settlement funds. My stomach dropped as I flipped through the pages. Disbursement records. Medical bills. Legitimate. But then, home renovation, $40,000. When I was 19, still living in Mama's house before I'd bought my own place. I remembered that renovation. New kitchen. New master bathroom. Denise had moved in temporarily to help Mama care for me, and suddenly the house was being upgraded. Personal care assistant, $30,000 over 2 years. But I'd never had a formal care assistant. Mama and Denise had helped me, sure, but $30,000? That was more than minimum wage for full-time work. Educational expenses, $25,000. For what? I'd gotten my web design certification online, and that cost $3,000. Where had the rest gone? I sat there in my wheelchair in the dark office, staring at documents that proved what I'd suspected but never wanted to believe. They'd stolen from me. Not just money, they'd stolen my recovery, my independence, my future. And now Denise wanted to finish the job. My phone rang. Denise again. You found them, didn't you? Her voice was ice. How did you know I'd find them? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. Denise laughed, that same brittle sound. As I know you, Emma. You're a digger. Always questioning, always suspicious. Yes, I was co-trustee. Yes, we used some of your settlement money. And you know what? We deserved it. Do you have any idea what it cost us to take care of you? The emotional labor? The time. You stole from me, I said quietly. I was a child. A disabled child. And you stole money that was meant for my care. We provided your care. Denise's voice rose. That money went to the house you lived in, the food you ate, the renovations that made the house accessible. You think that was free? You think Mama did that out of the goodness of her heart? Something inside me shifted. 15 years of guilt, of feeling like a burden, of trying to prove I was worthy of love. It cracked open. The settlement was for me. Not for kitchen renovations in a house I'd eventually leave. You were always going to leave, Denise spat. Mama knew it. I knew it. You couldn't wait to get away from us, to prove you didn't need family. Well, congratulations. You succeeded. And now Mama's dying and you have the resources to help, but you're too selfish. Mama's not dying, I said. She has dementia. She needs care, yes, but she's not. She's dying to me. Denise screamed. Every day she forgets a little more. Every day she becomes less of herself. And you're sitting in your little house that we helped you buy. You didn't help me buy this house. That settlement money gave you the foundation. Everything you have, you owe to us. I closed my eyes. I want my money back. Silence. What? The money you took. I want it back. I arrived at Mama's house the next morning. Denise's car was already in the driveway, a brand new Mercedes SUV. I'd seen her post about it on social media 3 months ago. Blessed and grateful, she'd captioned it. The down payment alone was probably $40,000. Clifton's truck sat behind it. He at least had the decency to look ashamed when I rolled through the front door. We need to talk, I said. All of us. Mama sat in her recliner, confused but aware enough to sense the tension. I hated doing this in front of her, but I was done protecting everyone else's feelings. Denise stood with her arms crossed. If you're here to accuse us of... I'm here to tell you the truth, I interrupted. And I'm going to tell it to Mama too while she can still understand. Emma, baby, what's wrong? Mama's voice was frail, uncertain. I pulled out the settlement documents. Mama, do you remember when I got hurt? When I was 16. Of course I remember. Her eyes filled with tears. Worst day of my life. Do you remember the settlement? The money the insurance company paid. Mama nodded slowly. That was for you. For your care. Yes. And do you remember making Denise co-trustee of that money? Mama's face clouded with confusion. I think so. Denise was helping so much. She just graduated. She knew about finances. I turned to Denise. Tell Mama what you did with my money. Denise's jaw clenched. I managed it responsibly. You took $40,000 for house renovations. $30,000 for care assistance that never existed. $25,000 for educational expenses I never received. You stole $95,000 from a disabled teenager. Mama's hand flew to her mouth. No, Denise wouldn't. Show her your new car, I said to Denise. Show her your designer bags. Your luxury vacations. Clifton finally spoke. Emma, it wasn't like that. We did help you. How, Clifton? How did you help? I turned to him. You barely visited. You moved across town the moment you could. When did you become part of we? His face reddened. Denise helped me too. When I lost my job 2 years ago, she loaned me $15,000. I'm still paying her back. The pieces clicked into place. She bought your loyalty. With my money, she bought your support. That's not fair. Isn't it? I looked between them. Let me guess. Denise told you that if we sell both houses, there'd be enough to care for Mama and have some left over. She'd split it with you. Am I close? Clifton's silence confirmed everything. Denise's voice went cold. You always thought you were better than us. Smarter. More capable. Even in that chair you looked down on us. I never. You did. She stepped forward. Every achievement, every client you signed, every dollar you earned, it was a judgment on us. Poor Denise stuck in a retail management job. Poor Clifton can't keep steady work. But look at Emma, the cripple who made something of herself. The slur hit like a physical blow. Mama gasped. Denise Marie. But Denise wasn't done. You think I don't know what people say? Despite her disability, she's so successful. Like being in a wheelchair makes me less than. Like I needed to overcome something to be worth anything. Denise, I never thought that, I said softly. Liar. You think I don't see the pity in your eyes? The way you offered to help me with money last year? I don't need your charity. But you'll take my house? The words came out sharper than I intended. She smiled and it was ugly. That's not charity. That's what you owe. That night I hired a forensic accountant. Within 3 days she'd uncovered the full scope of the theft. $137,000. Not 95. They'd been more creative than I'd realized. Medical equipment that was never purchased. Transportation expenses for appointments I'd taken the bus to. Therapy sessions I'd never attended. Robert Boykins reviewed everything with grim satisfaction. This is fraud. Clear, documentable fraud. You could press charges. Against my sister? Against your thief, he corrected. The fact that you're related doesn't make it less criminal. I thought about it. Thought about Denise in an orange jumpsuit, about Mama's confusion and grief, about how the family would fracture completely. Part of me wanted that justice. The angry part, the part that had been wheelchair-bound for 15 years while my sister drove Mercedes and vacationed in Europe on my settlement money. But there was something else I needed to know first. I called the premium care facility Denise had mentioned. I'm inquiring about costs for a patient with moderate dementia. The intake coordinator was cheerful. Our base rate is $7,000 per month. That includes private room, all meals, basic care, activities, and medication management. $7,000 per month. Even with Mama's social security and pension, that left a gap of about $3,000 monthly. $36,000 per year. My house was paid off, I could cover that if I needed to. But that wasn't what Denise was after. And if we wanted to pay for a year up front? I asked. We offer a discount for annual payment. Instead of $84,000, we'd charge $75,000. I thanked her and hung up. Then I called 3 other facilities. Similar prices. Nowhere near the $750,000 that selling both houses would generate. Denise wasn't trying to save Mama. She was trying to cash out. I'd been keeping a secret too. A document I'd found years ago, tucked into Mama's safe deposit box when she'd asked me to retrieve her birth certificate. I'd almost forgotten about it until now. Almost. I rolled into the bank, requested access to my own safe deposit box, and pulled out the folder I'd stored there. Inside, Mama's true will, the one she'd made before the dementia got bad. The one she'd had witnessed by her pastor and her lawyer, properly notarized and legal. I'd found it 4 years ago and it was clear why. Mama's note in her shaky handwriting. Emma, if you're reading this, I'm probably not myself anymore. I made this will when my mind was clear. I know Denise has been pressuring me to change it. She doesn't know this one exists. Keep it safe. You'll know when you need it. I love you, baby girl. You were always the strong one. The will was clear. The house went to Denise, yes. But there was a clause. In the event that Denise Mitchell has taken any funds from Emma Mitchell's settlement without proper authorization or documentation, her inheritance is void, and all assets transfer to Emma Mitchell. Mama had known. Maybe not the extent, but she'd known enough to protect me. There was more. Another document, older, from when I first bought my house. A quitclaim deed. Mama had signed over a small property to me, a rental house I didn't even know she owned. The tenant paid rent directly to a management company, and those payments had been going into an account in my name for 7 years. I'd owned 2 properties this whole time and never knew it. The rental property was small, but it was in a good neighborhood. According to the latest property assessment, it was worth about $200,000. The tenant's rent covered the property taxes and maintenance with some left over. But here's what made my hands shake. The rental property's address was Denise's address. I sat in my car outside the bank staring at the deed. My sister had been living in my house for 6 years, paying rent to a management company that deposited it into an account I didn't monitor because I didn't know it existed. She had no idea the house she thought she owned, the house she'd probably been using as leverage for loans and credit, wasn't hers at all. Mama's note explained it. I bought this house as an investment when Denise was in college. Put it in your name because I knew you'd be responsible with it someday. Denise thinks I sold it to her at a family discount. The mortgage she pays is actually rent. I couldn't tell her, she's proud and she'd be so angry. But you deserve assets too, baby. You deserve security. The management company had my maiden name on file. Mitchell, not my current last name, after a brief marriage years ago. That's why Denise never connected the dots. I called Robert Boykins. I need you to prepare some documents. What kind of documents? Eviction papers. And a lawsuit for rent fraud and misappropriation of assets. He was silent for a moment. Emma, are you sure? I'm sure. And I need one more thing. I need you to prepare a settlement offer. What kind of settlement? Denise returns every dollar she stole from my settlement plus interest. In exchange, I'll sell her the house at market value and drop all criminal charges. And if she refuses? Then I evict her, sue her, and press charges for the settlement fraud. Either way, she doesn't get away with this. Robert's voice held something like admiration. That's hardball. She taught me, I said. She taught me that family means nothing when money's involved. I'm just playing by her rules now. That night I drafted an email to Denise. Simple. Clean. Devastating. I know about the rental house. We need to talk. Her response came in under 5 minutes. What rental house? My reply, the one you've been living in for 6 years. The one I own. My phone rang immediately. I let it ring. Denise showed up at my house at midnight, pounding on the door hard enough to shake the frame. I'd been expecting it. I rolled to the door and opened it calmly. What the hell are you talking about? She pushed past me into the living room. You don't own my house. Actually, I do. I handed her a copy of the deed. Mama signed it over to me years ago. You've been paying rent, not a mortgage. The management company deposits it into an account in my name. I watched the color drain from her face as she read. Her hands started shaking. No, Mama sold me that house. He gave me a family discount. I've been building equity. You've been renting. For 6 years. And according to the lease agreement you signed with the management company, I can terminate it with 60 days notice. She looked up, eyes wild. You wouldn't. Why not? You were going to take my house. You stole my settlement money. You tried to manipulate me using Mama's illness. Tell me why I shouldn't evict you and sell your house to get back what you stole. Because I'm your sister. Her voice cracked. Because we're family. Family. I tasted the word like poison. When did you start caring about family, Denise? When you took my settlement money for your kitchen renovation. When you bought your Mercedes with funds meant for my medical care. Or when you tried to steal the house I worked 15 years to afford. I didn't steal, I managed. You stole. My voice echoed off the walls. From a 16-year-old girl who'd just lost the use of her legs. You looked at my tragedy and saw an opportunity. What kind of person does that? Denise's face twisted. The kind of person who had to give up her dreams to take care of her crippled sister. The kind who watched her mother break down day after day. The kind who never got to be young because she was too busy managing medical bills and insurance claims, and that was your choice. I shouted back. It wasn't a choice. Denise screamed, and suddenly she was crying huge gasping sobs that shook her whole body. Mama made me come home. I had a job offer in California. A real career. I was 24 and finally free, and then you got hurt and Mama called me crying, begging me to come home because she couldn't handle it alone. She sank onto my couch, her face in her hands. I came home for 6 months. 6 months turned into a year. The job offer expired. My boyfriend left. My friends moved on. And I was stuck in that house, watching you recover while my life evaporated. Something in my chest twisted. I never asked you to stay. You didn't have to ask. You were 16 and paralyzed. What was I supposed to do, leave? She looked up, her mascara running in black streams. But every day I stayed, I resented you a little more. And when Mama made me co-trustee of your settlement, I thought, finally something for me. Compensation for everything I'd sacrificed. That money was for my medical care. And I provided it. I did provide it, Emma. Those first 2 years I was there. I helped with physical therapy. I drove you to appointments. I helped you shower and dress and learn to use the wheelchair. I earned that money. Maybe, I said quietly. Maybe you did earn some compensation for those 2 years. But you took $137,000. You took money meant for my future and spent it on luxury bags and cars and vacations while I scraped by, while I worked overtime to build something for myself. I know. Her voice was small. I know, and I told myself you'd be fine. You were always so strong, so determined. You didn't need it like I did. But I did need it, I said. I needed to know my family hadn't betrayed me. I needed to believe that the people who were supposed to love me weren't waiting for me to die or fail so they could take everything I had. Denise was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. In the end, there was no happy resolution. No tearful reconciliation. No moment where love conquered all. Because some betrayals are too deep and some wounds don't heal. Robert Boykins drafted the agreement. Denise would repay the settlement money over 10 years. Every dollar plus interest. In exchange, I'd sell her the house she'd been living in at market rate, with her repayments counting as the down payment. She'd actually own it this time. No criminal charges would be filed. Clifton signed as a witness, his face hollow. He'd lost both sisters that day. Me to betrayal and Denise to guilt. Mama's condition worsened. I moved her into the care facility, paying the monthly costs myself. Denise visited once, saw Mama didn't recognize her and never came back. I visit every Sunday. Sometimes Mama knows me. Sometimes she calls me by her sister's name. Sometimes she just smiles and holds my hand, and that's enough. The money comes every month like clockwork. Denise's payments. I deposit them into an account I never touch. Maybe someday I'll donate it. Maybe I'll burn it. I haven't decided. I sold my house 6 months later. Too many ghosts. Too many memories of the day I realized my family had been waiting for me to become profitable. I bought a condo downtown, smaller, modern, with a view of the city lights. Sometimes late at night I wonder if I should have forgiven her. If I should have tried to rebuild what we'd broken. But then I remember her face when she told me I'd sleep in the garage. I remember the Mercedes. The designer bags. The vacations to Europe while I worked 70-hour weeks. And I remember Mama's note. You were always the strong one. Being strong means knowing when to walk away. It means understanding that some people will always see you as a resource, not a person. It means choosing yourself when everyone else has chosen against you. I don't talk to Denise anymore. Clifton sends Christmas cards. I don't respond. The family I built with my chosen friends, my colleagues, my community, they're enough. The house deeds sit in my safe deposit box. Physical proof that I survived. That I built something from nothing. That a wheelchair and a family's betrayal couldn't destroy me. Some stories don't have happy endings. Some stories just have survival. And some days survival is victory enough. Thank you for staying with this story to the end. Remember, family is who shows up for you, not who shares your blood. If this story resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share your own stories in the comments. You're not alone.